Let's take a look at question number 16 from the May 2016 release version of the Algebra 1 STAAR test. Okay, number 16 says, which statement about the function k of x equals negative x squared minus 2x plus 15 is true? Okay, so what we're looking at here is a quadratic function. That's graph is going to be a parabola. That's the U-shaped graph that we've seen. And so we can go about this algebraically, or we can do this using a calculator. So we'll take a look at both ways. Okay, let's start out with the algebraic way. Okay, so we're going to try factoring the right side of our function. Okay, so let's take a look here. So our first step, what we want to do here is factor out this negative sign here. Okay, so we're going to do the factorization down here. Okay, so we're going to factor out the negative. Okay, so it's going to look like this: negative. Draw our parentheses, and then we're going to have x squared. So when you factor out the negative, it's pretty much going to flip the sign of everything. It's going to flip the sign. So negative x squared becomes positive x squared. Negative 2x becomes positive 2x, and then 15 becomes negative 15. Okay. So it's going to look like that. All right. So what we're going to look for. So we look here at our c value, which is negative 15. We want to find two factors that give us negative 15 that add up to the positive 2 here. Okay. So so it looks like those two factors would be positive 3. I'm sorry. Positive 5 and negative 3. Okay. So let's go ahead and write those two binomials using those two factors. Okay, so our first factor is going to be x plus 5 times x minus 3. Okay, so if we expanded this, we should, if we multiplied using FOIL, multiply this binomial times this binomial, we should get the same trinomial that's inside the parentheses above. Okay, so now, if we set our function equal to 0, which is going to tell us when we solve for these two, solve for x now, it's going to represent our x-intercepts, which are also called zeros. So let's take each one of the two factors and set it equal to 0. So we're going to use the zero factor property, which says if a times b equals 0, then a equals 0, or b equals 0, or both equals 0. Okay, so this is a zero product property. All right, so let's take our first factor here, x plus 5. We're going to set it equal to 0, and we solve for x. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. We have x equals negative 5. Okay, and now we're going to take the x minus 3 factor, set it equal to 0. So if you add 3 to both sides, we'll have x equals 3. Okay, so this gives us our two zeros. Okay, our two zeros are negative 5 and 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at our answer choices. Okay, so zeros are negative 3 and 5. Okay, that's not what we got. Check the answer choice. So let's go ahead and cross out answer choice F. So let's take a look at answer choice G. It says the zeros are negative 5 and 3. Okay, because k of x equals negative x plus 5 times x minus 3. Okay, so that's how we factored it. So it looks like answer choice G is the best one so far. So let's go ahead and put a circle around it, and let's double check the other ones. Okay, so the next one has the correct zeros that we just found below. But let's look at the factorization. Okay, so look at our factorization here. Okay, so we have, inside of our parentheses, once we factor out the negative, we have x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, since both of their constant values are positive, so since we have plus 5 and plus 3, when you do FOIL, multiply them together, you're going to get a positive 15. But we need our constant value to be negative 15. Okay, so we can go ahead and roll out answer choice H. All right, and answer choice J has 3 and 5, and we've seen already that the zeros are negative, should be negative 5 and 3. Okay, so go ahead and roll out answer choice J, and looks like G is going to be our answer. So let's take a look how to do this with a calculator.
Now we're going to continue on with problem number 16 using a calculator. So I've created a new document, and I want to add a graph here. So option 2 there. All right, we have a new graph there. So we're going to enter our function, the right side of our function in there. So we're going to have negative x squared. So I have negative x negative x squared minus 2x plus 15. Okay, hit enter. Okay, and you see our graph here. I'm going to go ahead and drag it down just a little bit. So to drag your graph down just a little bit, we're mainly concerned with the x-intercept, so we can see our x-intercept so clearly. So let's go ahead and hit escape, and then we're going to do menu, and then we're going to do analyze graph, and then we're going to pick 0 option. Okay, so we have 2 x-intercepts here. The blue line crosses the x-axis in 2 places, the blue graph. So let's do the left side first. So go on the left side of where it crosses the x-axis, go over to the right side, hit select, and you see one of our x-intercepts, or zeros, is -5. So you want to look at the x-coordinate, okay? So we can do the same thing with the other x-intercept. So select 0 again, okay? And then go to the left side of where it crosses the x-axis and go to the right. Okay, hit select, and you see that our other 0 is 3. So we have 2 x-intercepts, or 2 zeros, one at -5 on the left there, and then one at 3 on the right side. Okay, so that means we have 2 binomial factors of, when you have a -5, it'll be x plus 5 as your binomial factor, because when you set it equal to 0, it'll equal, and you solve for x, it'll be x equals -5. And then the other factor will be x minus 3. So when you set it equal to 0, solve for x, you'll get x equals 3. Okay, so let's look at our answer choices. Look at answer number F. We have the zeros are -3 and 5, which we just found out that they're -5 and 3. Okay, so we can rule out option F, and let's look at G. G says the zeros are -5 and 3. Okay, so looking at our graph, we can look at our 2 zeros, or x-intercepts, and we see it's -5 and 3. So that's a correct, at least the first half's correct. Okay, and if we do factor it, like I said earlier, the 0 of -5 will give us a factor of x plus 5, okay, which we have there as our first factor in parentheses. And then a 0 of 3 is going to give us x minus 3. Okay, so it looks like answer G is the best choice. If you look at H, it has the correct zeros, but both our factors are x plus 5 and x plus 3. One of them, the x minus 3, needs to be negative, not x plus 3. Okay, so answer choice G is the proper answer, just like we found doing it algebraically.